कुमार साहब नायक है गोंगो लिबू लटोका रेडियो फीजी 2 में पुराना गाना लगे हमें बहुत अच्छा लगे
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन.
In the news tonight, Minister lays blame on PRB. Issues raised at Law Convention. And Madhwata records typhoid cases.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Edwin Nunn.
Bulavanaka, Fiji. Minister for Housing Premila Kumar says Public Rental Board and its employees should take responsibility for issues at PRB flats. Following the stabbing at the PRB's Mead Road property on Sunday, Kumar says the board is not performing up to standard. Apani Sawangairandovu reports the minister says the board was directed to profile all tenants and to date nothing has been done.
The Minister for Housing says people breaching tenancy agreement is becoming a norm because PRB is not taking responsibility.
There has been a lot of weaknesses on the part of PRB. All these issues festered over the years. If they had seriously looked at the rules and regulation and enforced the rules and regulation, the situation would not be what it is today. Today, as you have mentioned, in one bedroom, there are 15 people living in one bedroom.
The minister also calling on PRB to review the income of these tenants, as clearly some big spenders are living on the property.
Tenants are saying we are extremely poor, we can't afford the rent, but on the other hand, they are big spenders. They spend on immaterial things, but they are not being responsible.
PRB Acting General Manager Patrick View says they are doing what they can to address the issue, as he also confirms they are fighting in court to remove a few families from the Mead Road flats.
And there were other 2 or 3. The cases are pending with the court. We have asked our solicitors to take eviction orders for their removal, complete removal.
The minister has also revealed the tenants where the stabbing incident took place on Sunday is a beneficiary of government subsidy who is only paying $10 as weekly rent and has been staying in the property for the past 26 years. Kumar says PRB needs to look into this as PRB flats is not a permanent place of staying for anyone. Apinisong Kardobu, FBC News.
A number of issues were highlighted by the Attorney General during the Fiji Law Society and International Bar Association convention in Nandi today. While opening the convention, Syed Qayyum said there is also talks within the legal fraternity to increase the period for which a person can actually become a sole practitioner given the quality of lawyers. Philippa Naikaso reports.
There's 1 or 2 that was sort of struck off.
Attorney General Syed Qayyum says the discussions is to increase the period a lawyer is able to run their own law firm to 5 years compared to the current 3 years.
We have to be able to be, talk about these things reasonably in a very critical manner to look at the quality of practitioners and how actually we can assist those practitioners to become better lawyers.
Syed Qayyum highlighted that there's also the lack of junior lawyers being mentored compared to a decade ago.
There are currently about 1,000 valid practicing lawyers in Fiji. If I could have the slide up on the screen. 894 to be exact. Now, so that's about 1,000, for every 1,000 Fijians we have 1 lawyer. It's well under half the rate of lawyers per population both Australia and New Zealand.
Responding to the issues raised by the Attorney General, President of the Fiji Law Society, Wiley Clark, said he agreed on some points.
The senior practitioners, I think, need to spend a bit more time just with young practitioners, just explaining, just the ins and outs of court, for example, about practice, about etiquette, dealing with clients, just having that sort of, just bringing up the level of awareness, which a school will never teach you.
Various topics were discussed during the convention with the speakers, touching on issues such as businesses being affected by COVID-19, social media and freedom of speech. The convention will end tomorrow. Philippa Naikaso, FBC News.
The move by commercial banks to reduce interest rates has been welcomed by Economy Minister Aya Syed Kayum. The minister highlighted that the reduction in the interest rate will allow Fijians to take risks and invest. Syed Kayum says Fijians will be able to reap the benefits of these investments once borders open. The minister adds lower interest rates will lead to an increase in investment, which is essential as it improves the overall wealth of the nation.
We had been saying this for quite some time, that we will eventually see some reduction in interest rates given the level of liquidity in the market, and I think the stabilization from the uncertainty that was there in the past number of months. Of course, the reduction in interest rates is good news.
As of 31st December, the total liquidity in the banking sector stood at $836.8 million. Furthermore, the interest rates have trended lower in November when compared to the corresponding period in 2019. Well, there have been no outbreaks of communicable diseases in the TC Yasa affected areas. The Ministry of Health and Medical Services has confirmed 3 isolated cases in Maduata. The ministry is continuing its extensive awareness campaign against outbreaks of leptospirosis, typhoid, diarrhea and dengue fever. Pranita Prakash has more.
Disease is very dynamic.
The Ministry of Health and Medical Services has not recorded any outbreak of diseases from the TC Yasa affected communities.
After extensive work throughout Pono level so far, we know that there's been no outbreak post-cyclone. There's been extensive damages to water sources, carcasses of livestock, none so far.
Health teams have completed carrying out the LTDD awareness in the cyclone affected areas and are monitoring the LTDD hotspots in the 3 provinces.
The health team is also moving around, trying to identify other areas of need for nursing mothers, for example, and the small infants.
Minister for Health and Medical Services Dr. Ifiremi Wangainambete says they want to keep the no outbreak status, and this will take a lot of work. 8 villages and settlements in Bua, 15 in Maduata and 15 in Dakaundrove have been identified as hotspots for LTDD. Pranita Prakash, FBC News.
Up ahead, more assistance rendered to the Northern Division. And STEAM camp benefits young girls.
मैं तो दिल्ली में रहता हूँ और रेडियो फीजी रोज सुनता हूँ.
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन.
Welcome back. The HMAS Adelaide docked at the King's Wharf in Suva this morning to load more relief items and supplies for the Northern Division. Australia's Defence Advisor to Fiji, Colonel Robert Hirsch, says the naval ship was given a green light to ship relief items after 12 days of tests and 14 days of quarantine for 618 personnel on board. He adds the majority of soldiers are currently on shore assisting in their recovery efforts in Ngaloambua from the damage caused by TC Yasa. He says the personnel are specialized in areas of expertise, ranging from health and mechanical engineering to administration and logistics.
Loaded for today are going to a number of other locations. So part of the distribution plan is they get loaded centrally onto the ship. It then sails as one big unit up to vicinity of Vanuatu, and then it will be offloaded by a number of means, whether it be by landing craft and possibly by helicopter, to a number of other locations to allow distribution by RFMF or other agencies.
50 girls participated in Fiji's first STEAM Princess Camp at the University of the South Pacific in an effort to empower young girls. The initiative, supported by the US Embassy, aims to get more young girls involved in subjects such as science, technology, engineering, arts and design, and mathematics. Kelly Vadala reports.
Empowering young girls at an early age, the program will help Fiji build towards a prosperous future.
Women are succeeding in the health, environment, civil society, and business sectors. I encourage you, young women, to pursue your educational goals so that you are able to join this prestigious group of Fijian women making a positive difference. With the STEAM education skills acquired, you can become a positive change agent.
The camp included hands-on activities and seminar workshops that encouraged the young women to pursue STEAM careers.
I've learned many new things as new study skills, time management, different types of STEAM careers, having experience of living in a hostel away from parents before joining university.
The U.S. Embassy will continue to offer such initiatives to help youth build and fortify bridges for their future vocations.
Usually they just know doctors, nurses, but there are many other interesting careers, and also we try to show them the pathway to get to those careers.
The camp was a 4-day event and supported by a team of 8 facilitators and 12 volunteers. Kelly Vadala, FBC News.
Fiji is one of the only few countries in the world to have kept the Hindi language alive compared to other Indian diaspora throughout the world. Acting Indian High Commissioner to Fiji, Sukanta Sahu, says the language helps people to keep their culture and traditions alive. Sahu believes there is negligence on part of parents who don't encourage their children to learn Hindi. He adds language needs to be learnt from the primary level to keep it alive. The Indian High Commission today handed over 1,800 textbooks to the Education Ministry.
If you forget your language, you forget your roots. You forget your religion, traditions, culture. So the people of Fiji here, by keeping Hindi alive, they have kept the cultures, traditions alive here. And my heartiest congratulations to all.
Fiji Airports has donated $50,000 to the Prime Minister's National Disaster Relief and Rehabilitation Fund. This is to assist in the recovery after the devastation of Tropical Cyclone Yasa last month. While receiving the check in Nandi today, Attorney General Ayaz Sayed Qayyum thanked everyone who contributed. Fiji Airports Chair Jeffrey Shaw says as a responsible organization and due to the majority of airports being located on outer islands, they felt that it was their civic and moral duty to contribute to relief assistance programs. And now time for the end of week business report with Whitney.
Thanks, Edwin. Coming up in business tonight, back to school sales drop. And in growing Fiji, newly installed traffic lights operational. Stay with us.
कुमार नायक है गोंगवा लुगु लटोका रेडियो फीजी 2 में पुराना गाना लगे हमें बहुत अच्छा लगे
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन
The impacts of COVID-19 pandemic continues to affect a lot of Fijians. And during this time around, businesses are also feeling the pinch with back-to-school shopping. Normally, businesses would be buzzing as people flocked in numbers to town this time of the year to do their back-to-school shopping. However, this year has been different. Jeshulal reports.
Some prominent businesses that sell school sandals and uniform says they have recorded a massive drop in the sales this year as opposed to previous years.
Ever since the effects of COVID-19, the business in general has suffered very much.
This year in school uniforms it's really affected like compared to last year. Last year it was okay.
Other businesses are saying that even the sale of school supplies and stationeries have gone down.
This year it's a bit slow, quiet, maybe because of the hurricane and COVID.
Since the COVID-19 has been coming through, it's affected our business a little. There comes this hurricane, Yasa just came through, and people just mostly concentrating on their, like mending their house.
With only 1 week remaining before school starts, businesses are hopeful sale would pick up. However, they understand that the pandemic has impacted a lot of Fijians' ability to make a decent income. Jeshulal, FBC News.
Sanifa joins us now with the latest from the money market.
Good evening. The Australian dollar has resumed the downside and slipped lower as the US dollar renewed strength in Asia. The greenback held on to its biggest gain in more than 2 months against major peers. The US dollar rose from a nearly 3-year low, with traders taking profits against the euro, down nearly 7% in 2020 and almost 1% this month amid expectations of US fiscal stimulus. Investors now await non-farm payrolls later tonight for clues on whether significantly more stimulus will be needed to keep the economic recovery alive. Elsewhere, Britain's job market strengthened for the first time in 3 months in December, with an increase in permanent hiring and a small rise in the number of vacancies. This was before the current January lockdown, which came into effect a few days ago. In the Eurozone, economic sentiment improved in December. That's all for this week. From HFC Bank, Vinaka.
Here, the local exchange rates as set early this morning. The Fiji dollar showed gains against one of our major trading partners, the Aussie dollar, and also rose against the euro and the Japanese yen. It remained pretty much level against the Kiwi dollar, but lost ground against the other currencies we cover. Prices were mixed on the commodities market. Oil prices rose $1, closing at $51 a barrel. Gold was down to $1,911 per ounce, and silver closed up at $27.06 an ounce. The traffic signal at the Matanikorvatu Kings Road intersection will be operational from 9:30 p.m. tonight. The traffic signal is equipped with a vehicle detector system which will optimize the timing of the lights based on the number of vehicles arriving at the intersection. The Fiji Roads Authority says a backup power system has also been installed to keep the traffic signal in operation in case of power outages. And that's it from Business Tonight. We now join Jamie with the latest in sports.
Vinaka, Whitney, and good evening. Ahead in sports. Coke games and deans yet to be confirmed. And Fiji FA warns players in districts about transfers. This and more coming up.
सामने नाइक है गोंगवा लिबू लटोका रेडियो फीजी 2 में
Getting children back to school is the main priority of the Ministry of Education before they can discuss sporting events. At present, decisions on the Coca-Cola Games, Milo Kachi, primary school athletics, Dean's rugby competition and others are on hold. Permanent Secretary for Education Dr. Angela Jokan says they are putting all their energy into schools, particularly in the north and west, to make sure they are ready for children before the 18th. Dr. Jokan says once this is done, they can then meet relevant stakeholders regarding the 2021 sports calendar.
So until and unless that's complete, the students are back in school and classes have resumed properly, that's where our concentration will be. Yes, after that we will then need to sit down and decide on all the sporting events that we normally have.
Players interested in joining other districts this year through the Fiji football pre-season transfer window will have to make sure they are not contracted. The Fiji FA says last year National Rep Antonio Tuivuna's move from Lombasa to Mba was not approved as it breached his contract. As Aquila Dama reports, the country's football governing body is closely monitoring player movement.
The Fiji Football Association will ensure players uphold their agreement if they are contracted.
There will be no breaches of the contract will be allowed unless somebody can prove beyond reasonable doubt that both parties have not honored the contractual obligations.
Any player who has more than 6 months in their contract cannot make negotiations to move unless he has been given the green light by his district. Yusuf says at the moment only one player has been allowed to play for a new team this season.
There's one transfer already taken place, signed yesterday. The Solomon Islander that played for Nasino Malon has now been transferred to Lombasa. That's the only thing we can confirm. Apart from most of futsal players are moving between Lemi, Suva and Nasino and Reva.
Meanwhile, new Premier team Nandronga says they'll definitely take advantage of the transfer window.
Nothing confirmed as yet. It will take time. We still have 2 more weeks of transfer window, and we still getting some players who volunteering to come and join Nandronga. But
the pre-season transfer window ends on the 31st of this month. Aquila Dama, FBC Sports.
Fijiana 15's rep Serima Leoningila has her sights fixed on earning a spot to the Women's Rugby World Cup in New Zealand this year. She captained the 2019 Fijiana team that defeated Manu Samoa in the Oceania Rugby Championship qualifier and hopes she can complete the journey with the team at the World Cup. As Caroline Tavi reports, Leoningila is putting in the hard yards and making the necessary sacrifices to prove her worth.
It's a whole new ballgame for Serima Leoningila as she continues her bid to make it to the Rugby World Cup in September.
It's pretty exciting. Training is quite tough. Coach expects the best, so we're working towards that. Yeah, it's kind of new atmosphere. Everything's a bit serious. It's fun as well.
For some, the oval ball is just a sport, but for the bank officer, it is a career path worth pursuing and has made a lot of sacrifices along the way.
To go to work, and after training in the afternoons, the managers and stuff allows me to go to work. So I have to sacrifice between going to work and coming to training. Yeah, so that's about it, work and training.
God and family has been her main source of inspiration over the years.
For me, gives me strength every day. My family, the team as well, the coaches are pushing me out of my bubble.
However, all players will have to impress the women's head coach to book a spot in the Fijiana 15 side. Senirusi Servakula says all players will only be guaranteed a spot based on their performance.
But there's no guarantee he's going to be the captain again this year. But at the moment, he's first for me to be with the girls, and I'm trying to know all of them before March.
The 2021 Rugby World Cup will be held in New Zealand in September. Caroline Tavi, FBC Sports.
The TJ's Golden Gloves National Boxing Championship is anticipated to uncover new talent from youth boxers around the country. The Fiji Boxing Federation spent the past year developing new talent, which will be showcased at next month's big event. Venina Rakautonga reports.
The Federation is trying to revive the sport, and this tournament is just the start of the many plans they have.
Boxing is an important Olympic sport. We were one of the first sports when the Olympics started. In Greece, boxing was one of the original sports. So, so the values that is in the Olympic sport.
President Manasambara Vilala says the date set is fitting for the junior boxers.
And we came up with the end of February as the most appropriate time to prepare, but also to get all these things out of the way, and also to give the kids an opportunity to get back into training after the Christmas period and really prepare themselves to give their best at the Golden Gloves.
Treasurer Anna Lindua says it will be an exciting year.
There's about more than 40 bouts for each category to feature on this competition, and after the Golden Gloves, we're anticipating to have a weekly competition. We would like to boost the experience of our boxers.
More than 40 boxers from around the country will gather here at the Commander Stan Brown Gym for the first Boxing Fiji event of the year. Venina Rakautonga, FBC Sports.
The Kiakaha Blues basketball team is one step away from clinching the girls' Camp Pacific Basketball Championship title. Led by national reps Dhamari Ravai and Estelle Kainamoli, the team made up of St. Joseph Secondary School students is preparing for a tough battle against the Lions in the final tomorrow. Tali Matairakula reports.
Banking on the bond they've shared for the past 3 years, the Kiakaha Blues hope to keep the title at Waimanu Road.
The bond inside there is strong, and especially with a lot of senior girls inside there, I know we can do it because it's a final year.
Since it's the finals, everybody's level of energy will be different. Since it's the finals, everybody will be giving their best in playing. So I guess tomorrow's finals will be tough, and they'll bring it on against us.
The team will be studying their mistakes from today's match to ensure they come out stronger in the next game.
Just to calm down and carry my team up, because if I'm pressured and my other clique is pressured, the rest of our team will be pressured. So I guess to just calm everyone down and play to the best of our ability.
Competition is tough. Silver Grandma there, we have Ranandi, she's also a national rep, and it's very hard, trying to get the title back.
After a narrow 25-24 win over the Lions, the Kiakaha Blues will be gunning to successfully defend their title when they meet once again in the final tomorrow. Talima Terpula, FBC Sports.
That's it from Sports Tonight in New Media. After the break, check out the Akaso keychain camera and the amazing features that fit into the tiny device. This and more coming up.
Baik tu dia jadi mereka tahu रेडियो फीजी बहुत रेडियो फीजी रोज सुनता हूँ.
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन.
Mostly fine day over the southern parts of the main islands, while cloud and showers were scattered across the north. In the west, it was mostly sunny. Eastwards, from Pacific Harbour to Suva, mainly sunny with scattered clouds. And up north, occasional showers as a heavy rain warning remains in effect. At sea, easterly winds at 10 to 20 knots, sometimes gusting to 25, are generating moderate to rough swells. Turning to the tides, the next high tide is at 3:38 tomorrow morning, followed by low tide at 9:39 a.m. Sunrise is at 6:38. The outlook for tomorrow expects scattered showers in most areas, especially the north. And looking ahead to Sunday, occasional showers and a chance of thunderstorms. In Fijian Pulse, we ask, what are your thoughts on the local Super 7 series?
I think it's a really good idea for rugby development in Fiji. Even during this crisis nowadays, I think the Super 7 series is going to improve and develop rugby sevens in Fiji.
It can help other locals to rise up during this series, and maybe they will have other contracts in options.
It's good about the development of sevens in Fiji.
I want to thank those organizing the 7 series because I think it is good for local sevens teams.
Recapping our main stories, Minister lays blame on PRB, issues raised at Law Convention, and Madhuata records typhoid cases. For these stories and others, you can tune in daily to our sister radio station Gold FM to our poll question. This week we are asking, do you think the extension of the Rent Freeze Act is in everyone's best interest? Visit our FBC website to answer. And on to our shot of the day. Fiji's sunset is a spectacular sight to embrace. This picture was taken by Kelera Magoon at Lomolomo Beach in Nandi. You can send us newsworthy pictures and videos on email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via our various social media accounts including Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And that's your news for this evening. I'll be back again tomorrow. Until then, stay safe. Modemanda.
कुमार सर ने नायक है गोंगवा लुगु लटोका रेडियो फीजी 2 में पुराना गाना लगे हमें बहुत अच्छा लगे.
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन.